Okay, so we have the data from ICPSR downloaded here. This is the data file ICPSR underscore 02958, and it's a zip file. I've taken that zip file and I've put it in the folder that I'm going to use to store the folder, so here it is. Now at this point I need to make sure that I extract the data because otherwise, or unzip the file, because otherwise SPSS is not going to like the zip file setup. So I'm just going to extract into a new folder, and that new folder is going to be we're going to look for this name again, and it's going to be up here in my folder section. And so there it is again, ICPSR 02958. And so going into this folder, I'm just digging down into the different things, the code books here, the description of the file, some other different reading documents you can look at. But none of this is the actual data itself. Here, though, we do see the data, and we see that we have two files. We have a Sas setup file and an SPSS setup file. So since we're using SPSS, we'll go ahead and open that up. And so as this file is opening, what we're going to do within this file, so it's a little unique in the sense that there's a couple of things that we're going to have to do. So the first big question is, what do we update with the pathway and file name? There is no in file statement. This is our equivalent, though. So this is where we need to fill in information here on this physical data list file. And it's actually just asking for us to put everything in here. And so we need to specify both the pathway as well as the file name here. And so going back over to my folder, I'm going to left click and then right click to copy the pathway, and then I'm going to replace between the two double quotation marks, I'm going to replace the physical dash file name, and I'm going to insert the pathway. I'm going to put a backslash, and then I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to grab the name of the data set by slowly double clicking to activate the name. And so I'm going to take that, I'm going to plop that here, and then I'm going to type in the extension. It's a txt file, so again, I'm just typing in .txt, and so I've got my end quotation mark. Now, a couple of unique things about this data file. The first one is there's no save command. So if I go ahead and I look for my save statement, it doesn't exist here. And so we're going to need to go ahead and insert that ourselves when it's all said and done to save the data file. And so we can go and we'll get to that statement. You can run these files without necessarily needing to save them by default. The thing is that until you save the data file, you won't actually have it in your computer's memory. It'll be in sort of a temporary status. If I'm scrolling down here, you'll see we have, so this top section is giving you the variable name and then the location of the name within the data file. Do not mess with this section up top. Here you have variable labels. This is assigning for this variable, give it this variable label. And then if we keep moving down, what we'll see is we have this missing value section that's been grayed out. This is a cool feature that allows SPSS to this allows you to alert SPSS that certain values are missing. And so we'll go ahead and actually turn this on, and we'll turn it on by erasing the asterisk from it. And you'll see that by removing that asterisk, you've ungrayed this area. If you didn't want to turn on the missing values, you could put the asterisk back, and it's going to gray everything between where the asterisk appears and the next period, the next end of statement. We'll go ahead and remove that again just so that we activate this. Coming down here, you'll see, and again, you don't want to alter anything other than just activating it by removing the asterisk. Down here, you'll see the value labels, and again, what this is doing is it's saying for this value, for this variable, for this value, give it this label. For this variable, for this value, give it this label. And it's doing it over and over and over again. And so, and that is the duration of the data file. And again, you'll see there's no save command here. So we can go in and press Control A to select everything and Control R to run it. And you'll see that SPSS is running things, and I'm not getting any error messages, which is always useful. I'm just separating out my syntax, my output command, and I'm going to pull up my data command here. And this is another interesting thing here, is that if you look at the variable view tab, you'll see that the data has been pulled in, or at least the data structures have been pulled in. You've got your variable names, you've got your types, your width, you've got your label, you've got your value labels, and we turned on missingness, so you got your missingness specified. But when you look at the data view, there's nothing here, and this is unusual. You would expect to see the data here. I don't know why that's taking place, but one of the things that I'm noticing here is that while you have IBM SPSS statistics processor is ready, next to it you have these words transformation pending. Transformation pending means that something has been changed, some command has been given to SPSS, but the command has not actually been executed. This is why oftentimes when we're putting together our own commands in class here or outside in some of the previous trainings, you saw the word execute used. Execute again is the word that sort of triggers SPSS to do the thing that it has been told to do. And again, so up to this point, SPSS has been given a command, but it hasn't been told to execute that command. So I've typed in the word execute. I'm just going to highlight it there a little bit, essentially highlight the line that the word executes on, and then I'm going to press Control R again, and you'll see that now that transformation pending is gone, and if I go back to my data file over here, you'll see that data has actually appeared. So the data's there and all that fun stuff, and we can scroll all the way over to make sure things got pulled in and there's not some weird tailing off happening here, and it looks like we're good to go. We can go back over to the variable view and we'll see that it's maintained that name, the label, the values, the missing, all this good structure stuff. It's still there, and so we've got our data set. The last thing we need to do is save our data set. Again, it's only a temporary data set at this point. We want to save it to make sure that we have it on our computers, and so we want to go ahead and type in our save commands, and so we want to go save out file equals, and I'm going to put a single quotation mark, and now what I need to do is I need to tell it where to save the file and what to call it. So I'm going to go ahead and save it back in the same folder that we were initially using. Let me find it. There we go. So I'm going to go back to that folder, and I'm going to, again, just copy the pathway out of there. I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to put a backslash, and now you can call this data file whatever you would like to call it. And thinking back to the name of this data file from ICPSR, this data file was called the I'm pulling back up ICPSR on my other computer screen. This was called the Women and Violence in Chicago study. And so we can go ahead and call this the Women and Violence in Chicago study. And it is a 1994 to 1995 study. And so I've typed that in. I'm going to add the word master just because that's my naming default. And then I want to make sure that I tell it the file format type. So I'm going to push a period and then SAV, which is the type of data file I want to save, the SPSS data file. And then I'm going to put a single quotation on the end. Now you'll note that I still have a red for the save command. That means something's still wrong. What's wrong is I'm missing my period at the end, essentially saying that I'm done with this statement. And so I added that period down there. And if you scroll back over, you'll see that the save is now blue, which means it has been typed in correctly. Doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to work, but it's been typed in correctly at least. And so I'm just going to highlight parts of that line again. I'm going to press Control R. SPSS has run. And so I'm going to go back to my data file here, and you'll see that now I have a data file name, Women in Violence in Chicago Study, 1994-95, master.sav. And if I go back to the initial folder that I was looking at, I'll see that I have the file saved there as well. And so we have the data file created. And so you should be all set to go through and look at the data, figure out, let's see here, you got couple, let's see, 824 cases. You got several variables to choose from. So this will give you an opportunity to get into the data, take a look at it, see what's there, and see if it provides the information you're interested in using for your study. Terrific.